Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. Today, let's talk about this watch, a vintage Casio AE-30W. And this one is from the late 1980s. I think this actual watch came into my collection around Christmas of 1990. So that's how long I've had this one. The thing that I found really attractive about this watch was I figured it had digital accuracy with an analog display. That display obviously generated by LCD. So at the time, I really thought that it would be difficult to keep an analog watch synchronized right down to the second with the atomic clock, and that's what I liked to do at that point. So for me, this was kind of the best of both worlds. A nice analog display that could be synchronized very easily to atomic time, and then it had also the digital display down here, so kind of an analog digital dual display here. Lots of features here that I really liked. So this is your main timekeeping mode, and down here I have the date with the day of the week, but with this button up here I can switch that to instead be just a duplicate of the regular time right there in digital form, so analog and digital together, or analog and the date. So there's your regular timekeeping. Now the next mode is your alarm. And in this case, what's really fun, if I push this button down here, it actually has 5 different alarms plus the hourly signal. So 5 alarms. And this is the first watch I ever had with 5 alarms on it, which became something very handy. Just a little while later, I started working at a radio station, and we had a lot of stuff we had to record from a national satellite feed, like news stuff, or we had Paul Harvey's news and commentary. So there were times when that came over the satellite, and we would record it and play it back a little bit later, maybe an hour or 2 later. So I set my alarms as reminders 1 minute before it was time to record some of those satellite feeds every day. So that was fun to have, 5 different alarms. As soon as I heard the alarm, that meant, all right, you have 1 minute to go over there, get the tape ready, and hit record. So this watch became my daily watch, daily driver, if you will. I wore this every day at the radio station for like 5 years. So very handy in that regard. Okay, next mode. Actually, since I did stuff in that mode, it takes me back to the beginning. So I have to scroll through the modes again. Dual time. So right now I've set this to, Greenwich time, and that's my local time up there. But I can set this to any other time I want if I do this and make things start to blink. So I can set the hours to something different. Or I could actually set the minutes to something different as well, but it won't allow me to set the seconds to something different. The seconds in this mode, they're always going to match the seconds on the main local time there. So anyway, that's something you can do with that. Dual time. Okay, next mode, I have to start over again, is my countdown timer. And if it's set to all zeros, that's a true 24-hour countdown timer that I have there. But I can also go in here and set this to whatever I want, a number of hours, up to 24 hours, and number of minutes. So a very handy countdown timer that I used this on occasion as well when I was doing things live on the air and I had to give myself like a 1-minute countdown or a 2-minute countdown. I could set that up on here. So the next mode here, scroll over there again, is my stopwatch mode. So very similar to the stopwatch mode you might find on any other digital watch. So here you go. It's minutes, seconds, and hundredths of a second. Up here is the button for your split time or lap time. And of course, it's still going. If I stop it, I can reset there. So again, it's all pretty normal as stopwatches go on digital watches. This will go for 1 hour, showing hours, minutes, seconds, and 1/100ths of a second. If you go longer than 1 hour, what it'll do, it'll reset to 0 and keep on going until you turn it off, or stop it, of course. And then just hit the mode button to go back to your normal timekeeping mode. Also, it's worth noting that when you're in this normal timekeeping mode, if you push this button here where you see that 24-hour notation right there, then it'll give you the 24-hour display. And, that's all you have to do to get the 24-hour display. Sometimes I would press this button by mistake when I didn't want to, but it's easy enough to set that back to whichever display suits you. Also, when you're in the dual time mode, you can separately set that to be either the 12 or 24-hour display, and it does not affect the setting for the normal timekeeping. So just a couple other things to keep in mind here. When you're going to set the watch, you're in your regular timekeeping mode here, whether it shows you the date or the time. Press this button up here for setting until things start to blink. And here's where you can adjust, all the time settings. Now, if I use this button up here, that actually changes the nature of this second hand. Instead of being just a little line here at the tip, it'll show you a full-length second hand, which is the same as the full-length minute hand. So you've got the option of that being just something that looks different for your second indicator, or just a long second hand there. But down here is where you would reset the seconds, and that way it'll take you either back or forward to the nearest minute. And then here you can set hours as you will, and you can watch how these analog hands will change when I scroll ahead with hours here, whatever those are, and minutes, that scrolls ahead. If I hold this down, you can see how that changes everything. So not bad. And it's fun how you see how it affects the hour hand as I'm scrolling through the minutes setting on all of these. So that's kind of fun. Okay, then if I press mode again, it takes me to, here's where I can set the date. So it's pre-programmed with a calendar so that when you set the year, the month, and the day of the month, then when you go back to your normal mode here, it'll show you the day of the week. So it's got that calendar thing set up in there. And here it goes. It starts at the year 1985, and you can go all the way ahead to the year 2029, but then if you go beyond 2029, it resets back to 1985. So I was able to determine when I was setting up another watch that if you do go beyond the year 2029 on here, and you want to keep using this watch, if it's still working beyond 2029, all you have to do is subtract 28 years from the year setting here, and all the dates will line up correctly. Oh, but here's a fun thing to take note of. My wife said, well, what happens if it gets to the very last second of the year 2029 and keeps going? What does it do? Does it just break? Does it shut down? What does it do? Well, let's demonstrate that right now. So here we are. We're pretending that it's December 31st, 2029, and that is a Monday. And right now it's set to 11:58. Here comes 11:59 p.m. So we're just 1 minute away from turning over the time and the year from 2029 to whatever comes next. And just to confirm that, let me show you here. So there we are, 11:59 p.m. And there's our date. So let's just look at this for a moment and see what happens when it reaches that next minute here. Let's see what happens. Okay, it says Monday. What is it gonna say next? It's gonna say, oh, Tuesday. So it went ahead to, all right, January 1st, and it's a Tuesday. So it looks like, what did it do? It looks like it all worked correctly. But let's double check here. And okay, the time is correct. Okay, didn't break the watch. And it's showing, oh, it is showing that it went all the way back to 1985, January 1st. And so as luck would have it, January 1st, 1985 is a Tuesday, or was a Tuesday. And January 1st of the year 2030 will also be a Tuesday. So that's why that lined up okay. And if you continued to use this watch for the next couple of years, it would continue to line up where the time, the date would be correct. Even though it says 1985, it would be the same as the year 2030. And then the year 2031, the days of the week would still line up throughout the entire year. But in 2032, the problem is that's a leap year, and by then it would be 1987. Well, that's not a leap year, so that would goof up the synchronization of the days of the week right when you reach February 29th. So at that point, all you'd have to do again to use this watch would be to go in here and set the date to just 28 years previous to whatever the actual year was. So if you're in the year 2030, you could just set this to the year 2002, and your days of the week would line up for several years. So nothing big to worry about. If you do reach 2029 at the end of the year and it keeps on going, you'll be fine for a couple of years, and by then you'll have to change the battery anyway. And when you do, just make sure you set the date back 28 years, and this watch is going to keep on going. All right, now this watch came with a resin watch band, and it failed after a while. The one place where I would bend this every day to put the watch on and take it off developed a little crack right there. And I had that problem with a lot of Casio watches from that time. So I managed to find a replacement watch band just at a local store, like a Speidel, just kind of a standard watch band that happened to be a perfect match to the one that was on it before. But that was my biggest complaint about Casio watches back then, was the watch bands would crack and fail. And so this is a replacement, but looks just like the original. It's let's see, I think this is I want to say it's a 50 meter water resistant. Oh yeah, because that's what it says right there on the front. Okay, 50 meter water resistant. Pretty easy to change the batteries. You just take off these 4 tiny screws here and switch out the battery, and you're good to go. One thing you can do on this watch is, if you want to ever reset it completely, then press all 4 buttons together. And let me just demonstrate how that's done. It takes a little coordination to press all 4 buttons together. Oh, there you go. Okay, that worked now. It's, so it just resets everything to, 12 o'clock midnight. All the other settings are just zeroed out. And if I go to set this again, I will find that the date now has gone to January 1st, 1985. So yeah, for any reason, especially after a battery change, just do that, reset to, and then you have to go in and change all your settings back to whatever the current time and date and all that stuff is, and your alarms and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, this watch has held up really well. I've got a couple scratches on there, just some light scratches, but like I said, I wore this every day for over 5 years. And I don't wear it as much anymore. I just have other watches. It's fairly lightweight and probably typical of the era. Not very thick. So it's a thin watch, lightweight, and very comfortable. And there were a lot of watches back then that weren't huge, like your big old G-Shock that you have today. So if you can find one of these in good working condition, not a bad watch to have. Good looking. I always liked the way the face looked with these little dots around it. And and as you can see, lest you thought that after the year 2029 you would never be able to use this again, all you have to do is set it back 28 years and you are good to go. Quartz accuracy and that great LCD analog display. This is a favorite in my collection, and glad to have it and glad to be able to show it off to you today. All right, that's all for now. I'm going to have more episodes coming soon of the Good Timekeeping Show, so please stay tuned.